Excalibur. Excalibur wasn't just any sword, it was like winning the lottery in the Middle Ages. In some versions, Arthur pulls it from a stone as if completing a strength challenge to claim the throne. In others, the Lady of the Lake hands it over from the depths, like she's running a magical underwater pawn shop. Either way, owning it didn't just make you powerful, it marked you as the chosen one. The blade supposedly shone so brightly it blinded enemies and never dulled. But the real trick wasn't the sword itself, it was the scabbard. Whoever wore it was practically immortal. So Arthur's great secret wasn't his swordsmanship, it was being a master of medieval fashion. Of course, he eventually lost the scabbard because legends love reminding us that even kings can be careless with the essentials. When Arthur was dying, Excalibur was returned to the lake, where the lady took it back, as if it were too epic to remain in human hands. Centuries later, it still gleams in films, shows, games, and comics. It wasn't just a weapon, it was destiny forged in shining metal. Mjolnir. Mjolnir, Thor's hammer, was like carrying a portable lightning bolt on your belt. It was forged by master dwarves, but thanks to one of Loki's pranks, it came out with a shorter handle than planned. Thor didn't care, he used it anyway. It became the ultimate multi-tool. Smashing mountains, slaying giants, summoning storms, and flying back to its owner like the most destructive boomerang ever invented. But it wasn't all violence, it also blessed weddings, protected babies, and honored the fallen. Imagine a priest who, instead of rings, slammed a hammer into the ground and declared, "By the power of Thor, you are now married." Sacred and terrifying in equal measure, and only the worthy could lift it. Not even the other gods managed without breaking a sweat. Thor wielded it effortlessly, flexing his status as pure Norse mythological muscle. Today, you see it in tattoos, jewelry, and blockbusters. The original hammer wasn't just for show, it was thunder, faith, and cosmic strength compressed into a compact, apocalyptic package. Kusanagi. Kusanagi no Tsurugi. The grass-cutting sword sounds like a premium gardening tool, but it's one of Japan's 3 sacred treasures. Susanoo, god of storms, defeated an 8-headed dragon, sliced open its tail, and there was the sword. Because apparently dragons functioned like legendary piñatas. He gifted it to his sister Amaterasu, goddess of the sun, and it became a symbol of divine power. Much later, the warrior Yamato Takeru was surrounded by a fire set by traitors. Using Kusanagi, he cut the grass around him, extinguished the flames, and sent the fire back at his enemies. That's not just escaping, that's a bladed pyrotechnic spectacle. From then on, it was called the grass cutter, a modest nickname for something that came out of a dragon. Today, it's part of the Japanese imperial regalia, kept hidden and never displayed. Some doubt it even still exists, but that mystery only heightens its aura. Born from a monster, a national symbol and proof of heavenly authority, Kusanagi remains one of the most imposing blades in mythology. Gungnir. Odin's spear, Gungnir, was the deadliest projectile imaginable. Also forged by dwarves, the best blacksmiths in the mythological multiverse, it was enchanted to never miss its target. When Odin threw it, the victim's fate was sealed. It didn't matter if you were a giant, a god, or hiding behind a continent, the spear would hit you. If Excalibur represented destiny, Gungnir was absolute inevitability. There was no escape. Odin didn't need close combat, he threw it and watched. More than a weapon, it was a statement of dominance. Before wars, he would hurl it over the enemy army to mark them as his. From now on, you belong to me. Pure psychological warfare. Unlike Thor's wild hammer, Gungnir embodied precision and total control. Cold, exact, with zero margin for error. One throw, one outcome, no appeals. Durandal. France's answer to Excalibur was Durandal, the unbreakable sword of Roland, Charlemagne's star paladin. It wasn't just steel, its hilt held holy relics like a tooth of St. Peter or a strand of the Virgin Mary's hair. With that divine backing, Roland didn't just carry a sword, he carried heaven's direct blessing. The climax came at Roncesvalles, where he held out against an impossible horde until exhaustion. To keep it from falling into enemy hands, he tried to destroy it against a rock. The result? The mountain cracked, but the blade didn't even scratch. Like trying to break a diamond by smashing it into your countertop and ending up destroying the kitchen instead. In the end, Roland died shielding it with his body, an invincible sword charged with sanctity, wielded by a knight loyal unto death. Durandal was chivalric devotion turned into eternal metal. Poseidon's Trident. Poseidon's Trident is what happens when you scale up a seafood fork to apocalyptic levels. Forged by Cyclopes, it granted total dominion over the oceans. One strike could unleash storms, sink fleets, or trigger earthquakes that earned him the title Earthshaker. Imagine being a fisherman and worrying that Poseidon might be having a bad day because his weapon could redraw entire coastlines. Yet with the same ease, it could calm the seas. In the famous contest with Athena for Athens, he struck the ground and created a saltwater spring. Hardly useful. Athena planted an olive tree and won. Even so, the trident remained the symbol of absolute maritime power. Today, any three-pronged spear evokes the wrath of the ocean. It wasn't just a weapon, it was the scepter of the sea, able to shift from serenity to catastrophe in an instant. The Sword of Damocles. The Sword of Damocles is famous not for shedding blood, but for causing stress. Damocles, a flattering courtier of the tyrant Dionysus, constantly envied the life of the king. Fed up, Dionysus proposed they switch places. Damocles gladly accepted. Banquets, luxury, power, until he looked up and saw the sword hanging above the throne, held only by a single horsehair. Suddenly, nothing felt enjoyable anymore. The blade symbolized the constant danger of power. You may have everything, but the threat is always there. It wasn't a physical weapon, but the first great metaphor of the anxiety of leadership. Today, the Sword of Damocles describes any looming threat: mortgages, exams, existential crises. It never killed anyone, yet it lives on in history as the eternal reminder that every privilege comes with a hidden cost. Shamshir-e Zomorrodnegar. From Persian mythology comes Shamshir-e Zomorrodnegar, the emerald-studded sword specialized in slaying demons. Its first owner was Zahak, a cruel king with serpents growing from his shoulders. Definitely not the most charismatic ruler. With it, he maintained his tyranny until the hero Poseidon overthrew him and claimed the sword. From a weapon of evil, it became an instrument of justice. Legends say no demon could withstand its edge, making it the ultimate supernatural hunter. Unlike other weapons tied to a single side, this one had its own redemption arc, from villain to hero. Adorned with green gems, it was as lethal as it was spectacular. Imagine fighting infernal beings with a blade that looks like it was stolen from a royal crown. Shamshir-e Zomorrodnegar wasn't just a sword, it was celestial justice glowing emerald green. This is the end of this myth. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one.